This episode is brought to you by Forney Industries, official sponsor of Faction 46 and Nice Motorsports Truck Series teams. Forney offers versatile welding and plasma cutting machines, along with a full line of metalworking accessories for beginners, do-it-yourselfers, and professionals. Forney has everything you need for your next metalworking project. Shop for these top-of-the-line products at forneyInd.com. That's FORNEYIND.com, or at an authorized Forney dealer near you. Eric Estep here. One of my favorite parts of being a NASCAR fan is collecting diecasts. It's how I got my start on YouTube, actually. To me, a room is not complete until it features shelves of NASCAR diecast cars. It's as good a time as ever to continue your collection or begin an all-new one by pre-ordering your favorite driver's 2022 next-gen diecast at LionelRacing.com or at any authorized Lionel retailer. Lionel is the official diecast of NASCAR, and don't miss Lionel Racing's NASCAR Authentics diecasts at a Walmart or Target near you. Not only is Lionel the official diecast of NASCAR, but they're also official supporters of the Out of the Groove podcast network. So what are you waiting for? Head to LionelRacing.com to order your favorite driver's 2022 diecast.
Hello, my name is Rick Houston, and welcome to another episode of the Moonshine Motorsports Podcast. Dismal Swamp State Park in South Mills, North Carolina might not sound like a little slice of heaven, but it's got a natural beauty all its own. And Moonshiners, they once put the area's seclusion and countless hidden nooks and crannies to good use once upon a time. So join me for this conversation with Katie Sanford, a park ranger there at Dismal Swamp, whose boyfriend races at a local short track. Now that's a Moonshiner Motorsports connection, if ever I've heard one. All right, well, Katie, just to start off with, I just wanted to ask about the park there, Dismal Swamp State Park. First of all, how did Dismal Swamp get its name?
Well, the colonists who arrived here from Europe in the 1600s called swamps dismals, and this one was the largest swamp that they encountered. It was originally over 1 million acres, so they called it the Great Dismal. So it's a little bit redundant to call it the Dismal Swamp since dismal already means swamp, but that's what we call it today.
Awesome. Now, when was it first named as a national park?
Well, the state actually acquired the land back in 1974. It was owned by timber companies previously, and then I think in the early 1970s, the Nature Conservancy purchased it, and then the state bought the land with a matching grant, and it became a state natural area in 74. And it was redesignated in, I think, 2005 to be a state park. And we opened to the public following construction of our bridge across the canal and our visitor center in 2008. So we've been here in our current form since '08.
Now, you are a state park and not necessarily a national park, correct?
Correct. Yes, we're a state park. There is a Great Dismal Swamp National Wildlife Refuge that takes care of some other acreage here in the swamp. They have land in both Virginia and North Carolina. So we're a North Carolina state park. So our 14,400 odd acres is all within North Carolina.
So if I'm a family man, of course I am a family man, why would I want to bring my family to Dismal Swamp State Park? Why would somebody come there?
We offer over 20 miles of hiking and biking trails. We have a beautiful half-mile boardwalk immediately behind our visitor center. It's really easy to get to. We're also located right behind a DOT rest area. So if there's people who are traveling and they just need a quick walk to stretch their legs, the boardwalk is perfect for that. There's all kinds of wildlife you can see right there on that boardwalk. We've got many different kinds of birds you can see and hear out there. Deer, squirrels. Sometimes you get lucky and you might see a bear. We had a rattlesnake hanging out there not too long ago, so he was pretty neat to see. We have an exhibit hall with a lot of interactive exhibits. There's buttons to push and some wood squares to manipulate for the kids. We have a pretty extensive taxidermy collection, so you can see the animals that live out here. Kids usually love all of that. So it's just a really fun place to come check out.
And we were talking a little bit just before we started recording. You've got some pictures of race cars right behind you, so evidently there's a racetrack at least fairly close by.
Yes, Dixieland Speedway is about 8 miles down the road from here.
All right, cool, good deal. Now, you have a friend who races there?
I have several friends who race there. My boyfriend owns two race cars, so we compete in the super street class.
Okay. Do you drive?
I don't drive. Well, I do I'll take it around the pits to warm it or load it on and off the trailer. I don't race though. That's his job. I'm the pit crew chief.
All right. Well, obviously, this is the Moonshine and Motorsports podcast. So we've got the motorsports part of the episode out of the way. Tell me about the moonshining aspect. I know that way, way, way back in the day, that the Dismal Swamp there was kind of a haven for moonshining activities. What can you tell me about that?
Well, the swamp is a good place to hide things that you don't want to have found because it's a little difficult to navigate through the brush. There's a lot of thorns. The growth is pretty thick, so it's challenging to get through to a certain point within the interior of the swamp. There's a lot of myths about swamp monsters and poisonous gases and balls of snakes rolling around and things of that nature that kind of intimidated some people against going into the swamp. So that made it a good place for moonshiners to hide their stills and hope that law enforcement wouldn't be able to find them out there. So there were stills, throughout the swamp up until we think probably the 1960s. There's actually the remains of a real still along our Supplejack Trail. There's one that's right next to the trail you can see, and then a few more barrels a little deeper into the woods that you can see in the winter months.
Now, was this...
So to the best of my knowledge, there's stills today.
Don't ask, don't tell. How widespread was it?
It's a big swamp. I don't have a specific number of estimated stills that were out here, but as soon as the government says you can't do this and we're going to tax it, people start trying to come up with ways to get around that. So there were numerous stills out here.
Awesome. Good deal.
We had a very well-known moonshiner here in Camden County named Alvin Sawyer, and there's some pretty entertaining stories about his escapades with his stills and getting caught and how he jumped out of boats and pretended to drown when law enforcement was trying to take him to get him to show him where their still was. And they actually did catch him and take him to court at one time. And the judge said, "Mr. Sawyer, don't make any more moonshine." And he looked at the judge and he said, "Your Honor, I will not make any more moonshine." And he turned around and whispered to his lawyer, "But I'm not going to make any less either." That story just amuses me to no end.
Well, if it's one thing that I have learned doing this podcast on this journey, it's that moonshiners, they have a way of doing things, and it's their way or no way, and the government can just keep as far away from that as humanly possible.
Ironically enough, the information I have says that Mr. Sawyer was a prolific producer of moonshine, but he never actually drank anything that he made. I guess he was just in it to make the profits and produce it.
All right, good deal. Anything else that you would like to get across? Anything in particular?
I think that probably covers the main idea. We have a replica liquor still on display along Canal Road that was made and donated by our friends group. For the most part, it's just a replica. ALE inspected it and it had to be permitted so that it doesn't work, and no matter what anybody does to it, you can't make it work. But it does have a coil on one end of it that was salvaged from a still that was found by law enforcement and dismantled here in Camden County. So we have a festival each fall called Dismal Day in October, and the one member of our friends group gets into costume, and that's one of our staffed exhibits, and he stands there, he'll get a fire going in the boiler and have, jars of water. So it looks authentic, and he talks about the history of moonshining here in the county for that event. It's going to be on Saturday, October 12th this year from 10 to 2 for anyone interested in coming.
Perfect. All right. Good deal. Katie, I appreciate your time.
You're very welcome.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Charlie Daniels had the Woolly Swamp, and now you have the Dismal Swamp. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Ranger Katie. We will be back soon with another episode.